Hello, everyone, and thank you very much for tuning in. I, of course, am Rotype, and I'm back here with MouseGunner in our guided Factorio series. And today we get to do cracking. Doesn't that just sound fun?
Yeah, I was taking a look here. It looks like, I think you mentioned this earlier, but we're going to be going with, we can process heavy oil into light oil into petroleum. And that's the thing that I'm most excited for because we really need petroleum gas.
Yeah, and that's a pretty common thing. Most factories consume more petroleum than anything else, mostly because you're producing a lot of plastic and you're producing a lot of sulfuric acid. And you're doing that because the consumers of those are electronic type components. So the red circuits will use your plastic, and eventually we'll get to blue circuits, which will use the sulfuric acid. You're also making batteries, which use a lot of sulfuric acid. So you're using a lot of the petrol products and not so much the light and heavy oil products. So the more petrol you can get, the better.
Okay, so from what I'm gathering, what you're doing here, you're going to take the heavy oil, you're going to transfer that into the light oil here, and then you're probably going to pipe that over to the next point over here. Is that what you're doing? Or you're piping it to the main bus line?
So I'm going to bring the light oil up, yeah, and just kind of bring it to our liquid bus right here. And I'm just going to set that up, oops, just like this. And it'll act just like another input. I mean, pretty much just like a refinery, right? Another input for the light oil to go into all of the things that light oil is going into.
Oh, and we're going to need water and heavy oil. Okay. So that's your water line. So I'll get you water in a second.
Yep. And then again, the nice thing about having everything on this liquid bus is it's easy to reach. Just go get it. Whoops. I don't need a miner.
So can I do a bend like that? Is that fine?
Yep, that works.
Okay, and then we do this too?
Right.
Or is that gonna... Okay, good. Just want to make sure I'm okay.
Yeah, this one is water as well, so I will leave this up here for you to connect however is most convenient. Okay, I'm going to move this electric pole.
Okay, water there. And you said this is water? What I'm standing
Yes.
on right now? Okay.
Yep.
Oop.
Now let's take a look here and see. Okay, so it looks like all of our heavy oil is being made into lubricant first. And that's why these factories, these cracking factories, aren't actually working. Which is fine because pretty much our goal with heavy oil is to make lubricant if we need it. And then if we don't need lubricant, just make sure we don't back up on heavy oil. I mean, we kind of want light oil, but we're also making light oil from other sources. So the cracking is pretty much like an overflow of heavy oil. And if we don't have any overflow, fine. You know, I don't really care.
Are we using the lubricant for anything right now?
Right now, we are not. We will be,
Okay.
I mean, sort of soon. There's an area that is set up for it. We just haven't gotten around to it yet. That's why it's kind of just sitting in those barrels. Now it looks like we are backed up on light oil, so our refineries have shut down. So now's a good time to get the light oil cracking set up.
And that needs water as well. Okay.
Yep. It's a very, almost the exact same process. Just kind of connect. Actually, I'm going to make water a one step there.
Okay.
Rotate these around so they're oriented properly. Oops. Yeah, and we should see a significant increase in our plastic and sulfuric acid production after we get this set up. This is almost a transition, I think, in game phases. from, whoops, that was the right way. From kind of early game to mid game, when you get the cracking set up and your oil really starts kind of chugging along, because until you get this advanced oil processing, you're always kind of fiddling with oil. You have too much of one thing and you can't crack it into another. It's just never quite the way you need it. There we go.
I don't have water yet, but I ran out of pipes, so.
That's
I'll get it
fine.
to
I
you in
will
a
get
second.
this set up.
Except I don't remember where I left off.
Let's see. Right there?
I guess it's this set here?
Yes.
Water? Yeah, okay.
And then I'll bring the other one up.
Oop, that's not what I want to do.
There we go. So now we're making, every 5 seconds, we're making 2 petroleum per cracking plant. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So every 5 seconds, we're making 12 petroleum just from this area. And that will go right into our little tank here and then promptly out into whatever, these other items that we're using. We should see, so if you come over here and look at the refineries, you'll see that the refineries are now running because we're no longer completely backed up on light oil because it's being cracked. So like I said before, this is a somewhat significant point in the factory's development where you can now start using these liquids in a manageable way to kind of get rid of the extras you have. It's a good time.
And our plastic production has gone up ever so slightly.
Yeah, so the next, you might ask, so we talked about this a little bit a few episodes ago, how these two junctions work where the liquid fills up the pipe kind of as much as it can in an even level. That's sort of correct. And I don't even really understand completely the liquid physics. But if you look at this T junction, you see that the petroleum's coming from the left, and you can hover over the pipe going up. Well, right now it has 0, and the pipes going right have 0. So as soon as we get a little bit more, you'll start to see this flowing in. But you'll kind of notice that the pipe going up gets a little bit more. And you can kind of see the result of that in that we actually have some sulfuric acid and we have even less plastic. It's a little hard to tell, but basically you can't really 50-50 split a pipe. It's really hard to do. It doesn't really work that way. The way you can do it, people have kind of come up with it's almost like a hack of doing it, is by using a pump, which actually we don't have researched yet. So I'm going to go ahead and go in and research pump. That way we can talk about how to divide fluids a little more equally, because at least the way I like to run things, I want to divide my petroleum into 50% plastic and 50% sulfuric acid, because I pretty much use them in a 50-50 ratio. So why not split them that way? This kind of T junction doesn't really accomplish that. It does some kind of weird, not even split. Fortunately, let's see. I need to find out the research that does that. I don't remember off the top of my head which one it is. Let's look here. Oh, gun turrets, military. Oh, we do have it researched. There it is. Okay, so we need an electric engine unit. So I believe we're set up to almost start building them. And this is a good segue into, you were talking about lubricant. Where's my car? Oh, my car's up here. Oh, I don't know if you just got an achievement, but I just got one.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a pretty low level achievement, but it means we're actually moving forward.
So did you get that because of me, or?
I don't actually remember how and when it resets the achievements. I believe this is the first time I have done that task in a multiplayer game. So I think the multiplayer achievements are separate from single player achievements. So that's why I got that. Because I've certainly done that in single player, but I've never done it in multiplayer before. Okay, so I need some more pipes, which are being made down here. Okay, get some. Oh, no, I have some in my car. So you'll see here the electric engines have this extra port on the side that shows up when you tell a machine to make electric engines. It shows up with a couple other things as well, but this little, green liquid port, and that's pretty much where we're just going to go ahead and insert the lubricant now that we are making it, and now that we know that lubricant is this green color. We'll go ahead and add all the pipe work to this. And again, this may or may not be the best way to do it, but because we have squeak through, I'm okay with it. And even if we didn't have squeak through, there's really no reason you kind of need to be in this interior area. So if you block yourself off, not the end of the world. Now, I believe we have lubricant on the bus. It's not drawn down, so I'll go ahead and get it. And then if you don't mind hooking up the other inputs, I believe it needs a green circuit and something else I don't remember off the top of my head.
Needs an engine unit, electric circuit, and lubricant. That's it.
Okay, so I know it has the engine units on the one side. I don't remember if we put green circuits on the interior as well or not.
There are green circuits already there, so we have that.
Good. Okay, so it just needs the lubricant that I am working on bringing down right now. Ran out of pipe. There we go. Oops.
So as far as the engines go, we have the engine. Oh, they're already set up too.
Right. So we already set up the engines because we needed those for the train and for the cars. And a long time ago, if you remember, when I was setting this up, I set up this whole big apparatus, even though we didn't really need any of it at the time. And that's, again, I had the benefit of foresight to know eventually we're going to need these engine units for electric engine units.
But
And
by the way,
good.
I would like to point out you have this set up in a way that doesn't really work.
How's that?
So this one here, the way you have this set up will never get pipe.
Oh, yes, you're right.
And
Yeah,
then
I do that sometimes.
Over here, this inserter will never get engines ever.
Yes, it will, because this long-handed inserter places here. But you are right about the pipe. Yeah, every once in a while I try to be slick and sometimes do something like that. So
I think I can fix it though easily enough.
Yeah, that's a simple fix.
That.
Yep, easy enough. So now we have electric engine units being made. Now, again, I'm going to draw this down, which might not make sense at first, but this is going to be another one of those things that, with the benefit of foresight, I can say, I know that we're going to want these to go in that direction. But possibly the more important thing for this time...
I missed it. What is the second belt for?
So the second belt is eventually going to be... Let's see if we have the research open for it right now. Oh, yes, we do. So I'm going to make flying robot frames here. And I'm going to make many of them.
Oh, we have robots now. Okay.
We're getting really close. We probably... Yeah, we won't get to them this episode, but this goes to this kind of layout that I've been using. This will be... you're standing in the way. This will be a bunch of flying robot frames. And the same idea as the engines. I knew that we were pretty much going to be inserting right into the robot frames, so I built this knowing that's what I'm going to do. So this second belt will be the other ingredients required. Steel, batteries, electronic circuits. We actually are going to need to make batteries somewhere, which I did not leave space for, but that's a little bit ahead of where we are. We'll go ahead and just stick with the electric units for today. I am going to put a filter inserter here.
Forgot, why did we need the electric engines?
We need the electric engines. I mean, they enable a lot of things, mostly robots. But I was talking about them at first because we can use them to manage our liquids by making some pumps.
Oh, that's right.
So
Pumps are where on the logistics? Yeah, I
that's
see them now.
correct.
Small
Yeah, they
pump.
have a weird little icon that doesn't look like a pump at all to me, but it's a
Yeah, it
pump.
looks like an electric motor.
Yeah. So I'm making 2 of them, and I'm going to head back over to the oil area, and I'll show you how I kind of split my oil or my liquid products. And as I mentioned before, the electric engine units or the electric pump, liquid pump things that we're dealing with right now have a number of other uses that can be fairly well useful. But for now, I'll just talk about kind of the basic one that I like to go with. So this used to be our T junction, and I'm just going to kind of refactor it a little bit. I'm going to, oops, that's not what I wanted. I'm going to leave a space here. And right there is where I'm going to put, actually, not right there. What am I thinking? Here and here is where I'm going to put my pumps. Now, this is what a pump looks like. It needs power. So I'm going to put a pole. I'll put a big pole because I don't know where the nearest. There we go. Yeah, I was too busy pushing the wrong hotkeys. Okay.
Yeah.
So now these will just pump away. And you might think these would split adequately, but you can kind of look here, especially what I was talking about before. You can especially tell now that I have pumps where this top one is running all the time. You can see the little animation going. And this one over here is not at all. And I don't necessarily understand why. It's kind of a weirdness of the Factorio liquid handling. Everybody knows Factorio does liquid handling a little weird, but there is a way to make this work the way you want to. And this is going to get into some things that will take many episodes to cover, and we certainly will go into it in depth later. But I just made myself some green wire, which is under the logistics tab down there near the bottom. Make some green wire. Now, you select the green wire and you basically connect almost anything you want. So I'm just clicking on these things and I'm connecting green wires to these items, as you can see.
Do you have to hook it up to the power cable like that?
You don't have to. So I could just do this. You see now they're connected to each other. They get that little panel that shows up, which is, I don't know, something, a little design they like, I guess, to show. So I'm going to, now the reason I have this other pole over here next to this tank is because the green wires or red wires behave the same. They can be hooked up to a pole to make them travel a little farther. So right now I'm connected to the pump and I'm trying to connect it to this tank and I can't reach. It doesn't let me reach. So what I can do is I can connect to this pole. You see the green wire went up to the pole. I have to make myself some more wire. Now I can connect that pole to this pole and then that pole to the tank. So this is just one wire network. And anything you can connect to that wire will be that network. And if you connect green wires to other things, let's say I went over here and connected this to, that and then to something else, that's a different one. That's a different green network. So it only networks the things that it's actually wired to.
And red is a separate thing. So even if I connected the two same things, it would be different.
Right. So you have basically the two colors of wire. So you can simultaneously use the same poles or the same items you're connecting, and you can connect it to a green network or you can connect it to a red network or both. Now, somewhere I believe you can look. Yeah, okay. So if you click on the pump, it'll say circuit condition connected to network 2. And that's just the number it gives to this particular green network. This one is called circuit network 2. You'll also see mode of operation, and there's only one option, enable, disable, and then enabled condition. So mode of operation, certain items have different things you can do with wires. Pumps, the only thing you can do is turn them on or turn them off. So the way I like to split liquids is by setting in this enabled condition, You click the box and you can set petrol. You turn the little box into a petrol and you can switch the equals sign by clicking it equals less than greater than. I want it to be enabled if petrol is greater than 100. Whoops, I actually type 100 set. So now if you click this top pump, you'll see here. Did you do something?
Oh, I was doing probably the same pump you were. Okay, so
Okay. So yeah, now it
redo
has
what you did.
So yeah, so now it has honestly an icon I've never seen before: petroleum gas in rail tanker. So I can.
Okay. Where is the petrol? I was trying to find it.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So under the fluids tab of signals, so these are all different types of signals you can read for the logical condition.
Oh, okay. So signals. You got me. I'm lost.
Okay. So you open up the pump, and there's an enabled
Uh-huh.
condition. What I want, just kind of in plain speak, what I want is if there is more than 100 petroleum connected to the network somehow, I want to enable the pump. That's what I'm trying to do.
Oh, I found it. Never mind. Got it.
Yep. So under the liquids, there's petroleum. You click petroleum, and then you can switch the greater than to less than or whatever you want. And then you click the number, and you can set it to many different things, which we'll get into later. But for now, I'm just setting it to a constant number of 100. So this pump will. Yep. And
petroleum less than 100. Is that what it was?
So what we're after for a split is greater than 100, but you can imagine you can set all kinds of different conditions for different things.
And then the same thing over on the other side?
Exactly. So when you set the same thing, they'll both run at exactly the same time because they both have the same condition. And for some reason in Factorio liquid balancing land, that splits the fluid equally.
No, I think that makes sense to an extent.
Yeah, I mean, it's, I guess the way the designers have chosen to model fluids is, you got to make some kind of assumptions to simplify it, and that's how that works. So this is a pretty commonly seen way of splitting fluids because, as I said before, when you just put the pumps there, only the one was running. This way, they both turn on at the exact same moment, so they both draw, fluid when it's there. And you can see now they're like turning on and off, on and off. That's just because we don't have a ton of petroleum gas in the tank. We're kind of fluctuating above and below 100. But at least now they're being split. So the circuit stuff, I know it was a little bit confusing, and we'll definitely get into it in later episodes, but it's just kind of a primer into one of the early things you can do. We'll get into all kinds of crazy stuff you can do later. And some people go absolutely nuts with the circuit stuff. It gets really cool, but it can get very complicated. So I think that will be some of our next episode stuff. But for now, we're going to have to take a break. My name's been Roadtype. He's been MouseGunner. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.